PENGUICON2015 Writing and Editing Tools box.
Come on, PowerShell. What's your problem? Is that the power? There we go. I killed it too soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I knocked one out earlier.
Well, Linux might not be doing any work. Open office. No stash count. Really? Even though I did get stash native, it didn't save it. Awesome. Good job, kid.
You lost your stash.
I lost my stash. Okay. This has gone horribly, horribly awry. So.
You have a finished version?
I do have a finished version, so I guess we're just going to walk through that. I apologize, but I guess
I've been there, so I understand.
10 a.m. on Sunday.
Everything works until it's go time.
Yep. So, I didn't realize the enemy was myself.
I didn't know it was. It's worked 5 times before. Why is it working now?
Okay, so this is the complete solution. So I'm actually just going to build this and run it and show you what it does. Yay, look at that. We got a tab. We have a checkbox. It shows a panel. We've got a list of crutch words. Again, this was not the interactive one where you can add them from the document. This is just a fixed list, but you could add controls here to manage this list if you wanted. And I'm being serious when I say you. This is, I will accept pull requests if anybody wants to futz with it. So let's go see it in action by looking at a really, really verbose story I wrote about a robot's first day several years ago. And let's just scan it and see how bad it is. So right there in the second sentence, I already hit one of the crutch words. And you can see I can just scan through, and it's just going to highlight either the ly on the adverb or the entire crutch word. And we can go back. It's very good. And if we turn off, because we have checkboxes here, so if we only want to scan for adverbs, do that. And it won't hit any of the crutch words, etc., etc. So, what does that look like code-wise? So let's go, the ribbon is pretty much the way you guys saw it. We've got a ribbon and we've got panel visibility. And so I've got an event here to respond to, there's a reason that needs to be in there that I will get to in a moment. Yeah, so this is all pretty much the exact same stuff, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. If we go look at the add-in, which is the point at which we have contact with Microsoft Word. This is where things get a little bit complicated. So we've got the ribbon here. The ribbon has an event that it raises when you click on the scan button, and we handle that event here. And basically we take the scanner and we say, go do the scan. We're not doing anything fancy, multi-threaded background work or anything because life is too short. And the short story I have for an example here does not warrant it. If you try to scan a 600-page document, like a full novel, it might take a while. So adding some status reporting might not be a bad idea so you don't think that we're just hung. So we've got the scanner service, and the scanner service is really the cool part, so let's go look at that. So it takes a bunch of iScanners, and iScanners are things that have a name, have a list of patterns, can be enabled or disabled, and can initialize a find object. The find object is the Microsoft Word object you get that configures the find window. So we're doing that behind the scenes. So we're just using Microsoft Word's find functionality under the hood. That's the basis of this. And that it is actually really fast compared to trying to parse the document yourself, which I have also tried to do. Didn't work very well. Scanner service. And the start scan button, or the start scan method, we create the scan results object where we're going to stash everything that we find. Then we go and we're going to iterate through all the scanners where the scanner is enabled. And I realize that if you don't know C#, some of this might not make a lot of sense, but it's not too bad. I don't abuse it too badly here. And then for each scanner, we go through each of its patterns, and we have to do this weird stuff here to get the find object for the full document. Clear it out, set the text to whatever the pattern is that we're currently working with. We don't ever want to match case for this because capitals don't matter for us here. If there was a proper noun scanner, that you might want to match case, but even so, I think you want to, I don't know, I'd have to dig into that feature a little bit. And then we tell the scanner, go set settings on this as you need to, and then we just keep going until it stops finding stuff, and every time we find something, we add the range, because find is, range is basically a start point and a stop point in the document, so it's going to, the way this search is set up, it's going to be finding, the range is going to be an individual word or the ly at the end of an adverb. And then the results.complete does some other stuff we'll talk about in a moment. Let's go look at a scanner, because they're really relatively simple. So this is the adverb scanner. This is the name that appeared in the sidebar, so that you can identify it, so you can disable it if you want to. All it does is search for things with an ly. And in order to actually have that work properly, we set up the find to only match the suffix. We're not matching the whole word. So it's looking for words that end in ly. And that's it. Touch scanner, instead of returning just a single string ly, we're returning this array, because we can support more than one. If you had a curated list or a per author list, this would be more complicated, and you'd have to store it to a settings file and modify it as you go. Nothing terribly difficult. It's just stuff out of scope for today. And here, for the watchwords, we are matching the whole word, so we set that to true. In the scan results, this is the add method that was called in the scanner. Every time it finds a word, it just adds it to the list. And right now, we just have it as a big bucket. We don't care about order at this point, because if you have a whole bunch of crutch words, you don't want to sort it too often, because the list could get big if you're in a big document. And then in the complete method, we do sort it using this range compare object, which just does a little bit of math on the start position to determine which one should show up first. And then there's the can move next, can move previous, move next, move previous methods, which let you iterate or navigate through the result. Bless you. And this select method is, the range is an object that lives in the Word document, and calling select on it scrolls you to that place in the Word document and selects it. So it's, that's pretty cool. So, that's pretty much all of the functionality here. And again, I apologize, the actual live coding exploded horribly. Does anybody have any questions?
So if you wanted to, create a list of all of your made-up names in fantasy, could you do that pretty much the same way that you did the crutch scanner?
Yes, it would be very similar.
And just include...
Actually, it could be exactly the same. Well, no, it would be a little different, because you don't... This doesn't interface with the spell check system at all. I believe there's a way to add a custom dictionary. So that would be, now that I think about it, and you asked about how you would actually do it, it would be a slightly different mechanism than the scanner. Because this finds positives, and what you're really interested in that scenario is negatives. You're looking for things where you misspell it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In Word, you can just go into your spell check and add words.
Yes, but then I believe that's on a per user basis, not a per document basis. So if you had...
But you can take them out when you're done, so.
Yes,
the same.
yes you could. But that's a lot of manual work if you have an epic fantasy novel.
So I missed
But
the
yeah.
first few minutes. Does this scan, is it new per document? Like what I'm saying is, if you had 3 different Word documents and you wanted to somehow track how many of your crutch words you used, would it add up over per document, or is it a whole new instance every time you started a document?
So there's no stats tracking in this version.
But
That's a feature, but you could do it either way. You could do it per document, you could do it per scan. How you persist those stats, like if you just want to copy them by hand into an Excel sheet, or if you want to back it with a file of some sort, or if you want to go crazy and like put it into a cloud service so that you could spam it to Facebook. Whatever you want to do, but that's yeah, you'd have to decide what's.
But the scan is for your Word software, not per the document, every new document?
Yes, it's in Word.
Okay.
Every time you open up a document, there's going to be the red lines
Gotcha.
tab there. And so, little testimonial here. I actually, I wrote this to use myself because I was editing my wife's work, whose name is Jen Hager, by the way. She has werewolf novels out. You should go buy them. I went to Context in Ohio a couple of years ago and went to an editing panel, and the woman who was giving the panel, whose name I don't forget, and I feel horrible about it, I don't remember, was talking about the arduous lengths she went through to do what this does by hand. She had like notebooks full of words that she would manually control F and search for, and she'd like count how many times they occurred in each document and where they occurred, make sure that each one appears only like once on a page or whatever. And I was sitting there admiring her dedication to her craft and thinking, she's on a computer. This could be so much easier, because she's doing the thing by hand that the computer's really good at, which is a repetitive task. So I wrote up the first one in a couple of days and started using it, and immediately I was like, oh, look at all of the crap that I missed. Look at all of the things that I missed, all the places that the prose could be tightened up. Look at all of the extraneous adverbs. Look at how many times she used began, or started, or saw, or thought, or vaguely, or although that's already an adverb, so that'll be caught by the adverb. So it has added a lot of value to my editing workflow, just in the form that it's in right now. So in the version I actually use, which is not as clean as this, I actually do a little bit of just counting of how many, and it turns out not to be all that useful. If you wanted to track your stats, just to track your progress as a writer, and that would be useful to you, awesome, go for it. And if any of you guys want to chat with me after, although I do have another panel to get to right after this, about features, we can talk about that. If you're not a coder yourself, that's okay. I'm not going to tell you to learn how to
a
code.
copy of this to play with?
It'll be on GitHub. So under one of the open source licenses,
What's the name of it?
Redline, and I will, 1 second. So that link there at the bottom, which I will blow up, is where you can find it. I haven't actually pushed any code there yet, so you may want to wait a couple days before you go look for it. Yeah. And I will probably try, I don't know if I'll get to it this week, to get like an installer up so that you don't have to download the code and compile it if you don't want to, if you just want to use it.
Oh, I'm gonna play with it.
And you are welcome to do so. And like I said, I would be more than happy to look at pull requests if you want to futz with it and improve it, because I'm making no claims to quality here, but it works.
Well, I'm thinking there might be a few things that would be nice to add, but.
Yeah, absolutely. It is
I'd
bare
have to
minimum.
play.
Because I've found, as I've not, in my early 20s anymore, my palette for working a full day writing software and then coming home and spending 4 hours writing software has declined greatly.
Well, I bought a book called The 10% Solution on the recommendation of Ferret Steinmetz.
Okay.
And essentially, several of the things that they recommend doing are these very things, but there's a few words that you could add, like for instance, they don't like prepositional phrases. Like if you're using the word of, then you should probably tighten that
Is
phrase.
that trying to cut 10% of the
Yeah,
the words?
essentially,
Okay,
it's going back after you've got your draft, and using that to cut it, to clean things up and cut
Yep.
it down by 10%. Is the
Which
goal.
you can always do, by the way, unless you're doing flash fiction, in which case
You'd be surprised with flash fiction.
But even with flash
You
fiction.
can tighten it more than you think you can with
No,
a proper
absolutely.
word choice.
You
But
just
like,
have to be
for
ruthless
instance,
and
like
not
I
attached
noticed
to your
you had a
words.
line that said the youngest of the males.
Oh God, no.
And
That short story is like 9,000 words.
Well, I'm using it as and they would recommend it staying, instead of saying of the males, to say the youngest male.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
No.
and so you could put in a whole bunch of those prepositional
You
phrases
could.
in
You
there.
could do more advanced scanning. One of the things the find function supports is regular expressions.
Uh-huh.
So if you needed a pattern matching more than just plain text, you could do that. That could be pretty cool. And it would just be the pattern, you return would be the regular expression, and then I think there's a flag you set in the find object that makes it a regular expression search.
So I think that there's some extra things that can be.
Absolutely.
I know you mentioned on a long document it can take quite a while. Is it scanning the entire document for each word it's searching for?
Yes.
Okay.
So each pattern in one of the scanner that gets returned by a scanner, if I can find one of those. So each of these is a separate search.
Yes.
You could, if you are working on a lot of big documents, like you saw in this is like an 8,000 or 9,000 word document, and this is a piece of shit computer, and it took all of 10 seconds to scan for the 5 things. If you have a big list of words, or if you have a big document, you could probably mash all of those into, you could batch them up in a regular expression to decrease the number of scans. But that's what we call premature optimization. Don't fix it until it becomes a problem, because it adds complexity to the code. And right now, this is dead simple.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're doing a novel and you have 100,000 words, you don't want to, start the scan and go to work.
So my editing workflow, to address that exact point, I get the full. Jen gives me the full novel in one document. I break it out into like 3 chapter chunks, and then each of those is a separate Word document. And I work on one of those at a time, so that as I get 4 or 5 chapters in, she can start integrating and working on the earlier stuff without stepping on each other's toes.
Okay.
But that's just a workflow detail, and if you are working in whole document chunks, then maybe some optimization is needed. Any other questions? If not, I did promise a 30-second dance party with DJ Baby Groot. And I just wanted to show this off because this let me win Christmas. This is my Christmas present to my wife. This is powered with an Arduino, and let me actually get a speaker so that you can hear it.
Well, there's a speaker cable down there, isn't there?
Those aren't plugged in here?
Yeah, I'm unimpressed with the AV setup in this room, so just use the one I brought. But yeah, so this is a Arduino motor controller an Arduino wave board, I think it's called, that lets you play MP3s off of an SD card. And I cannibalized another dancing tree toy and reskinned it and reheaded it. It was the best Christmas present I've ever got. And it's got the entire soundtrack from Guardians of the Galaxy on the SD card, so. That's all. Thank you for coming out. I know it's early, and it exploded horribly.